everybody, welcome back to Marie's Kitchen. I'm so glad you're here. Today is another episode of Weeknight Dinners, and that's where we create a dinner that is quick, easy, and family friendly. Perfect for those busy nights when you want to get something on the table that you can feel good about. Today we're making sheet pan roasted trout with asparagus, and it's all on one sheet pan, goes in the oven all at once, so could not be easier. And on top of the trout, we're going to use capers, lemon, Dijon, shallot. It's like restaurant quality, so much flavor. And if you don't have trout, you can certainly sub in salmon. I use both interchangeably, and the recipe works the same with either. We're also going to make some rice to go on the side, but pasta like buttered noodles would be delicious too, or if you want something lower carb, try a green salad or another veggie. All right, let's get started. So for the sheet pan roasted trout, first thing I'm going to do is preheat the oven to 450 degrees. You want to get that going early because it does take a while for it to heat up, and this recipe is just so quick, so you don't want to be caught off guard. Okay, so let's take a look at our trout here. This is about 1.5 pounds of steelhead trout, and this is fairly readily available at my grocery store. If you don't have it, like I mentioned, you can certainly use salmon. I've used both. It's just interchangeable. It works just as well with either fish. So whatever you prefer or whatever you have will work. This is a full fillet of the steelhead trout, and I know it does look a lot like salmon. I've had people tell me when I make this, they say, no, that's salmon. And I say, no, it's trout. I bought it. Anyway, it's called steelhead trout, and it has this nice ruby flesh, kind of like salmon. So all you want to do is just go ahead and rinse that off, pat it dry so it's nice and dry. And you can do this ahead of time if you want to do it like, the night before or something. It's the one thing that it takes a little bit of effort. You got to dry it off, and so you could do that ahead. And then we'll just set this on our baking sheet here, and I have some parchment down. It's going right up to the edge there. Nice big piece. All right, so we've got our trout here. I'm just going to set this aside, and we'll start on the topping. First, we'll need 2 tablespoons lemon juice. To juice the lemons, I'm just going to trim the edges here, the ends off. I find it makes it a lot easier to squeeze without those little ends on. So I do that, then pop it in my lemon squeezer, and so much juice comes out. That should be plenty. We just need 2 tablespoons. All right, so we've got just sort of a Pyrex cup over here. I'm going to mix the topping. We're just going to start with 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice. Then we'll add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Approximate is fine. Although I do find when I don't measure, sometimes I just get so off and it throws off the flavor. So when I've got a lot on my mind, especially, I say, you know what, I'm just going to measure. I'm just going to use the measurements that I wrote down, because that way I'll be sure that the flavor's right. Next up is 1 tablespoon Dijon whole grain or coarse ground mustard. Any of those will work. They're very similarly flavored. And we can just give that a quick whisk. Now we need 2 tablespoons minced shallot. And to do that, I'm just going to trim the end off the shallot here. Shallot has very sticky, papery skin, like a garlic, but almost, I find, more difficult to peel. So you'll want to just kind of work that off with your fingers. If you're using a lot of shallots and you maybe say a dozen or something, you can blanch the shallots in some boiling water for about 5 minutes, and that will make the skins a lot easier to pull off. But when you're just doing 1 or 2, it seems like a little too much effort to do that. So I just kind of work at the skin and peel it off. And you can see I leave the end on here to kind of hold everything together. To mince the shallot, I'm just going to make some cuts straight down like this. And then a couple straight through the center like that. And then we can just go straight down here, and that will give us these nice little minced pieces of shallot. Now we'll just pop our shallots right over to our lemon Dijon mixture here. So we have our shallots in there, and now we'll add our 2 tablespoons capers. Kind of generous there. It's more like 2.5 tablespoons capers. Then I'll add a little bit of salt. You don't need a lot because the capers already have so much salt in them. And then we'll add some freshly ground pepper here and give that a stir. And that's done. That's your topping for the fish. So you can make this topping ahead, maybe the morning before or even the night before or a couple hours before. Have it, just put it in a jar, put it in the fridge, and it's ready to go whenever you're ready to make dinner. So here we have our trout here on our parchment lined baking sheet. We'll just give this another whisk. And then I'm just gonna pour that out right on top of the fish, spreading it out along it. Like that. We can use our fork to kind of spread this. Doesn't that look so good? I love all these flavors: capers, mustard, lemon, shallot. Baked fish can be kind of bland, but with all these flavors, it's just game changer. All right, looks great. Now we'll set this aside and prepare the asparagus. I have a pound of asparagus here, and one trick that I use for asparagus is it always comes with 2 rubber bands on it. I take one rubber band off and rinse this real well. Rinse all the tips really well. And then when it's time to cut the asparagus, I just take my knife, leave the rubber band right on, and cut straight down. And there you have your trash or your compost. Really easy, just not rolling everywhere. So there is that, and these are ready to go onto your baking sheet. So we'll just grab our trout baking sheet and just spread the asparagus around the outside like this. Love a sheet pan dinner, right? It all goes in together. Now we'll grab our olive oil and drizzle a little bit there on the asparagus, and then a little salt and pepper on those as well. So the sheet pan trout with asparagus is done. We can put this in the oven at 450 degrees and bake for 15 minutes. All right, now it's time to make the rice. To start, we have a nice pan here, and we're just gonna take the heat to about medium heat and put some olive oil in the pan. You can use olive oil, butter, or ghee. It just adds some nice flavor to the rice. And I really like my rice to be flavorful. I don't like bland white rice. So we're gonna start with oil, and then I'm gonna add 1 clove of garlic. While that cooks in the oil, let's talk about rice real quick. This is Royal Basmati rice. It's a long grain rice from the foothills of the Himalayas. I like to buy my rice from India or Pakistan if possible. The soil there has less arsenic in it, so you naturally get less in your rice. So I always buy a big, kind of a bulk bag of the Royal Basmati or the Mahatma Basmati. You can get these on Amazon or at the grocery store. And we'll need a cup of that. So 1 cup basmati rice. We've got our garlic cooking over here, flavoring the oil real nicely. And then to mix things up a little bit, I'm gonna make some turmeric rice. Turmeric is great for reducing inflammation, and it has a nice kind of sweet, earthy flavor, sort of a little bit of a curry flavor. So we're gonna put a teaspoon in, and that'll give this rice really bright yellow color and also just a new interesting flavor. Okay, we've got our garlic cooking. Now we'll add our rice, and then 1 teaspoon kosher salt. And we'll give this a stir and kind of toast the rice a bit there. You can see it's getting just a little bit kind of chalky white. And it smells incredible. It smells so nice and toasty. Now we'll add 2 cups water. You can use broth here if you like chicken broth. It's a great time to add something else in for another layer of flavor. Just pour our 2 cups water right in. Then we're gonna bring this to a boil. As soon as it comes to a boil, we put the lid on and turn it to low and cook for 20 minutes. And that is the secret to really fluffy, delicious rice. And hello, I just forgot to add the turmeric, so I'm going to add that now. Just need 1 teaspoon about of this powdered turmeric, and then add the lid back on, and that will cook for 20 minutes. One other idea I want to share with you to kind of dress up your rice is you can add some peas to the rice. And I just use frozen peas. I like the petite green peas. They're a little sweeter and not quite as like mealy as the big peas. So try to find some petite green peas in your freezer section. And then I'll just use about a cup of peas here. And I just leave them frozen. And then what we're going to do is about 5 minutes before the rice is done, we'll pop open the lid, throw the peas in, and shut the lid. That heat in itself for those 5 minutes will cook the peas just right. They won't be smushy and overcooked. If you put them in at the beginning, they get really wrinkly and overcooked. But I found if you put them in right the last 5 minutes, throw them in there, put the lid on and cook it, they come out just right, nice and bright green. Then you can toss it with the rice and it adds another veggie, it adds some color. My kids have always loved this. It adds a little bit of sweetness to the rice. So try that, especially if you have young children. Of course, we already have so much with this dish. We have our asparagus, we have our trout, we have our turmeric rice and peas. If you want something else, you can do a green salad. You can also do, this is something that I've mentioned on some of my other weeknight dinner shows. This is a par-baked loaf of bread. It's frozen. And what you're gonna do is you bake it in your own oven for about 20 minutes, and that finishes cooking it and gives it this delicious crisp crust and warm center, and it tastes like fresh bread. All right, so we'll put this in the oven at 350 for about 20 minutes, and this will be ready to serve too. So the rice is almost done. We'll just pop our peas right inside the pot and let that cook for the last 5 minutes. Okay, the fish is done. It looks incredible, smells incredible. Now we'll grab the bread and the rice. So here's the bread. Doesn't it look gorgeous also? It looks like homemade or fresh from some Italian market. And now our rice. Here's our rice here. Go ahead and give the rice a little fluff here. The lid off. Don't those look great? Look at that bright yellow color with those pretty green peas. Just give that a toss. Thanks so much for joining us on Marie's Kitchen. Today we made an easy weeknight dinner of sheet pan roasted trout with capers, lemon, Dijon, and shallots, and roasted asparagus on the same sheet pan. It was so easy to make. For a side dish, I made some turmeric basmati rice with peas. We've also got a warm loaf of bread here, done in 30 minutes or less. I can't wait for you to try this one. If you like this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up. We so appreciate your likes, and it means a lot to YouTube too. That's how they decide who else sees this video. So if you like it, give us a thumbs up. Also, leave me a comment. Let me know what else you would like to see as far as weeknight dinners, or if you get to try this one, I would love to hear from you. And if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. I've got lots more videos coming up with easy recipes just like this, and I don't want you to miss any of them. For this recipe and more, check out my website, mariesaba.com. There you can go and print out this recipe and all my recipes, put them in a notebook, and make your very own Marie's Kitchen cookbook for free. My goal is to give you some really easy recipes that turn out great every time, so you can build some confidence in the kitchen and feel really inspired to share good food with people that you love. From my kitchen to yours, thank you.